What is going on, New York Giant football fans? We are back again tonight with another video, and tonight we're going to take a look at the 1990s. 1990s, a very good, pretty good decade for us. Started off with a Super Bowl victory, which is the ticket you're looking at right now, Super Bowl 25. We had our ups and downs. We had a couple of playoff appearances. We had 4 coaches in this decade in the 1990s, which is usually not a good sign. But we did have a .519 winning percentage in the 90s, so we did have some pretty good teams, but we did have some not so good teams. So we're going to take a look at the teams and the ticket stubs from the 90s today, and we're going to do things a little bit differently this time. We're going to go in chronological order. We're going to start with the 1990 season, and we're going to go forward to the 1999 season. All right, so with that being said, let the games begin. Okay, so we're going to start our 1990 season with a couple of preseason games. And the great thing about these 90 tickets that I have is that I'm only missing 9 tickets, including the preseason, from all of the games in the 90s. So you will get a good look tonight of what basically every single ticket looked like, with the exception of 9 of them, including the preseason. So I'm on the hunt for those 9. I really would like to finish up this decade because this is the closest decade that I have. And without further ado, let's take you through the 1990s. Here we go. So, first ticket, preseason, Buffalo Bills on the road. That's how we started off our Super Bowl campaign in the 1990 season. 1990 was also a season where we saw the debut of Rodney Hampton, which we will get to in a moment. Hampton was one of our draft picks from Georgia. And here's a ticket against the Jets, preseason. And we close out the preseason with a game against the Cleveland Browns at home. This ticket right here that you're looking at is the first home game of the 1990 season. It was Rodney Hampton's debut. We beat the Eagles, and we had been previously getting beat up by the Eagles almost every time we've been playing them. So this was nice to take it to them for a change. This is the away Dallas game, which we handled them pretty easily. Lawrence Taylor had a pick 6 in this game. I believe it was like 31-3 or something like that. Good game by the Giants overall. The next game is home against Miami. Again, we held Dan Marino to a very minuscule yardage game. He didn't really do much this game. Here's the next game, Giants at home against the Cowboys, another victory for the Giants. Giants on the road against the Redskins. This one is one of my favorite memories of this season. This was a game against the Phoenix Cardinals, who we should have beaten. I think we were like 9 or 10 point favorites in this game. And we were losing by 9 with 3 minutes to go. And Phil Simms had gotten injured. Hostetler was in. And we came back from 9 points down with 3 minutes to go. Hostetler hit Stephen Baker on a long touchdown. And then moments later, Matt Barr hit a field goal to give us the win and keep us undefeated. The next game at home against the Redskins, another victory. This was a late game. I think it was a 4:30 game, something like that. And Everson Walls had a pick 6 in this game. Another great game by the Giants. Then we rolled on to Indianapolis, where we had a Monday night game with the Colts, which we won. Then we go out to LA for a tough game against Jim Everett and the Rams. Always difficult in these late 80s, early 90s. These Rams always were tough. Another win for the Giants. Then we played the Lions at home, our first shutout of the season, 20-0. And we rolled on to the Philadelphia Eagles again. And as I mentioned before, they always gave us a hard time in this time period. And they gave us a hard time again here, and they beat us. This was our first loss of the 1990 season, and it was a shame because the Giants were 10-0 at this time, And San Francisco was 10-0 at this time. And we played them the following week. And they both lost. The Giants lost and the 49ers lost. So it could have been a matchup of 11-0 teams, but it ended up being a matchup of 10-1 teams. And here is the ticket stub from that game that we lost 7-3. So the Giants now have lost 2 games in a row. They're 10-2. And now we're on to the Minnesota Vikings. And Bill Parcells was hospitalized for kidney stones earlier in the week, and he still coached the game. The Giants toughed it out. Tough defensive game in the second half. They really got after Rich Gannon in this game, pulled off a victory, and it seemed like we were back. Our defense was back, and we were ready to roll to the playoffs. Then the Buffalo Bills came to town. Rainy, soggy day. The Bills' high-powered offense just was too much for us. Phil Simms got injured in this game. He was out for the year. This was his last game in the 90 season. Hostetler took over, just could not do it, just could not bring us back, and we ended up losing. And obviously, this is who we would play in the Super Bowl. So now we've lost 3 out of 4 in the 90s. I don't have the Phoenix game and the Patriot game. My father actually went to the Patriots game. I don't know where the ticket stub is, but it's not with me. So I'm still looking for those 2 tickets. But we did win both of those games, and we marched on to the playoffs. And these 2 games were really used to get Hostetler ready for the playoffs, because we knew that we had to rely on him to take us where we needed to go. And now we get to the playoffs. So our first playoff game in 1990 is right here. That was the Chicago Bear game. We won 31-3. We had a big goal line stand earlier in the game. John Washington nailed Brad Muster on a big stop at the goal line, and that really turned the game around. Giants never looked back. O.J. Anderson even had a big block on Refrigerator Perry on a touchdown run by Hostetler, and the Giants just rolled onto that game and set up a rematch with the 49ers, which is right here. And this was the NFC Championship game. A just masterful game. This is probably one of the best football games you will ever watch. Defensive battle. The Giants did not score a touchdown in this game, and they won 15-13. Matt Barr, 5 field goals. Defense incredible. And right next to the 49er ticket right here is the Phantom ticket, which would have been played at Giant Stadium had the 49ers lost in the division round. So that's what the championship ticket would have looked like if it was played in Giant Stadium. We had to go out to San Francisco, and we beat them 15-13 on a last-second field goal. And then, as I showed you before, this is the Super Bowl ticket from Super Bowl 25. Okay? I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't mention Eric Howard. In this game, Eric Howard forced a big fumble at the end on Roger Craig to give us the ball and give us the ball back at the end so we can drive down and kick the field goal. And also, if you're a Giant fan, you know Leonard Marshall's big hit on Montana, big part of this game as well. Just an unbelievable football game from beginning to end. And just great game all around. So then we go on to 1991, coming off the Super Bowl. And the Super Bowl trophy is on the ticket in 1991. That's how a ticket would look like in 1991. This is a full ticket from the preseason game against Buffalo, August the 5th. Nice ticket. This is one of my favorite Giants season tickets with the trophy and just the team name right there, NFL champions. Sometimes, you could say so much with so little, and that's what they kind of did here. The Jets was the second preseason game. Then we had the Patriots in the preseason, August 24th, 1991. And this is one of the games that I'm missing, the at Cleveland preseason game. That's one of the 9 that I'm missing. Then we had the rematch with the 49ers, opening night after that hard-fought battle in the NFC Championship game. This is a game that we won. This was Ray Hanley's coaching debut. Bill Parcells left after the Super Bowl win. And Hanley got off to a good note. We beat the 49ers, and it just didn't go so well after that. But we did get off to a solid start. Then we had the Rams, game number 2. At Chicago, game number 3. of the season. Then we had a home game for the Browns at Dallas, game number 4 for us. Then we had a Cardinal home game, October the 6th. Then we had at Pittsburgh, home for the Washington Redskins. Always a battle back then. Still a battle today, but the Redskins always gave us a tough time as well. At the Eagles here, nice full ticket from the Philadelphia game in 1991. Then we had the Cardinals again. Remember, the Cardinals were in the NFC East at that time, so we played them twice. Here's a Dallas Cowboys ticket at home. Then we went to play the Buccaneers, November the 24th. At the Bengals is another one of the 9 that I'm missing. And then home for the Eagles, December the 8th. December the 15th at Washington right there. Then we wrap up the season at home against the Oilers, December 21st. So coming off the Super Bowl and that fantastic season, we finished 1991 with an 8-8 record. Ray Hanley finishes his first season at 500. There was a lot of discussion about who should be quarterback. In 1992, the season we're looking at now, we drafted Keith Hamilton in the 4th round out of Pitt. So we knew that we needed some help. And let's see what happens in 1992. Here are the first 2 preseason games. We have the Bengals and the Browns. Right here, back-to-back weeks, both full nice tickets. So you can kind of see what the ticket looked like in 1992. Again, pretty simple, but a nice ticket for 1992. Then we have the Jets, preseason game. And then we have the Steelers. So those are the 4. Then the first game of 1992 was, again, the 49ers, 1992. Then we have game number 2 right here. I believe that's Dallas, if I remember. Yes, right there, Cowboys, yep. Then we had the Bears, again, on the road. Then we had the Los Angeles Raiders on the road, October the 4th. Then we have, right here, the Cardinals, October 11th. Then we have the LA Rams on the road, the Seahawks at home, the Washington Redskins, and you could see the trophies in the background of their ticket there. They won the Super Bowl in 1991, so good season for them. Game number 5 at home is against the Packers, and this was Brett Favre's first year, I believe, starting. This was, I think, his 6th start in the NFL. And obviously, we don't have to talk about Favre. We know his accolades, but this is when Green Bay started turning it around as far as their franchise is concerned. Then we got to the Broncos away at Denver. Then we have the Eagles right here. Nice full ticket from the Eagle game, 1992, unused. Then we have the Dallas Cowboys, who went on to win the Super Bowl that year. So nice ticket from the away Dallas game. Then we have the home Redskin game right here, game number 7. Then we have the away Phoenix Cardinal game over here, December the 12th. And 2 more to wrap up 1992. This was, I think, the Chiefs. And then this was at the Eagles. So those were the 2 final games. And like I said earlier, those were all the tickets from 1992. Those were all the games. We went 6-10, and that was the end of the Ray Hanley era. And in came Dan Reeves, a very good coach with Denver. It was surprising that he was let go, but we brought him in thinking that, he would be our coach for a while. He was our coach for about 4 years or so. Here's how we started off 93. I'm missing the first preseason game at the Bengals. I have the home Steelers game, preseason, and then home against the Jets. This ticket right here is full because this was my personal ticket and my father, and we left the tickets at home for the preseason game. Now, I am a boy, a young boy at this point in time, and a father does not want to disappoint his son. So even though it's the preseason, we realized that we left the tickets at home, and we are scurrying frantically trying to find tickets. He looks down at me and gives me the, it's just the preseason look. and then he sees that I'm upset, and then we go hunting for a scalper, trying to find tickets to a preseason game. So we found them. We watched the game. We were on the big screen in the stadium, and these tickets were obviously never used because they were sitting at home on my father's desk. So now they're in my binder. But that's the story. Thought you'd appreciate that. Then we have a at Dolphins game right here. And then the Chicago Bears, September the 5th, away game. Home for the Buccaneers. Home for the Rams. Away at Buffalo. Away at Washington. And right here is the debut of Hall of Famer Michael Strahan. October 17th, 1993, against the Eagles. This was his first game. Hall of Fame career. Thank you, Michael Strahan. Then we had a Halloween game against the Jets, 1993, at home. Then at Dallas, on the road. Again, 1992 World Champion. They put the trophy there as well, just like we did. And the Cowboys went on to win the Super Bowl again this year. So they were just kind of heating up with Aikman and Emmett and Irvin and all them. Then we were home for the Redskins, away at the Eagles, home for the Cardinals. Nice full ticket there. Away for the Dolphins, home for the Colts. Away at the Saints, December the 20th, 1993. Away at the Cardinals. And then January 2nd, 1994 was a home game against the eventual Super Bowl champion, Dallas Cowboys. And we had lost this Arizona or Phoenix game right here. And we had to win this game, this Dallas game, to get a first round bye or to get the first number one seed. And we knew it was going to be a tough game because they were the eventual Super Bowl champions. They're a very good team. And we lost, I believe it was 16-13 on a Murray field goal at the end, in overtime, I think, actually. And we really should have won this Cardinal game. We had it right in our hands, and we lost to a much lesser team. We let that slip through our fingers, and then we lost the Cowboy game. And we ended up having to play on Wild Card Weekend, which was right here. And we beat the Vikings 17-10. And then we did not play very well against the 49ers and lost 44-3 in San Francisco. So that wrapped up our 1993 season. This was the last game for Phil Simms and Lawrence Taylor. So the end of a giant era right here at the end of the 93 season. We went 11-5. We had a playoff win, but it was just unfortunate because this year could have been much better had we have won that Phoenix game. Who knows what would have happened. But that's the way it goes. So this was the end of the Simms-Taylor regime. And then we move on to 1994. We still have Dan Reeves in place as our coach. And this right here is one of the 2 times that the Giants have played a football game in July. This was July 30th, 1994. I believe the other one we did review in one of our other videos may have been from the 60s or the 70s. I don't recall. But this was a preseason game at home against Miami, July 30th. Then we have August the 6th against the Browns at home. Then one of the preseason games missing against the Chargers. That's one of the 9 that I'm missing. Then we have the Jets, preseason. Then we have at the Bears again. It seems like we play at the Bears every year in the 90s here. Then we have the Eagles, 1994, September the 4th. Then we play at the Cardinals. We are home for the Redskins. I am missing this Saints game right here, October the 2nd at the Saints. Home for the Vikings. At the Rams, once again. Home for the Steelers. Home for the Lions. Away at Dallas. Again, this is 1994, So 49ers ended up winning the Super Bowl this year, but Dallas was still a very good team. Home for the Cardinals. Away game against the Houston Oilers in the Astrodome. Away game against the Redskins. And away game against the Browns. So 3 away games in a row in November. Not very nice scheduling there. December the 11th, home for the Bengals. Then away for the Eagles. This is like a suite ticket, like a penthouse suite ticket for the Eagle game. Then home for the Cowboys, Christmas Eve. And we finished off 1994 with a 9-7 record, not in the playoffs. Okay, so 1994, which we just finished, saw the drafting of Jason Sehorn in the second round out of USC. So he was part of the fold now. And now we move on to 1995. Again, 95, another season where the Cowboys won the Super Bowl. So they were going to be our first opponent of this season, which we'll get to in a second. Preseason, the game number 1 against the Browns. Dave Brown in the middle of there on the ticket. Then the Saints, preseason game number 1. Nice full ticket. So that's what they look like in 1995. Just a very generic and bland ticket with the same picture on every single one. Game number 2 against the Jets at home. This was one of the first games played by the Carolina Panthers. This was their first season, 1995. This was game number 2. So this was their second game ever. And it was against the Giants. And we move on to our regular season. Now, hopes were high for the Giants this year. Dallas came into town. Dallas was coming off a very good season. Dallas was also supposed to have a very good season. They came into our house. This was Monday Night Football and just destroyed us. It was 35-0. Emmitt Smith ran up the middle on the first play of the game for, I think, like 60 yards, 70 yards, whatever it was, 80 yards maybe. And it was over before it began. And the season was over before it began. That was the beginning of the end. Then we had an away game against the Chiefs. An away game against the Packers, right here. A home game for the Saints. Away at the 49ers, 1995. Home for the Cardinals. And this is a nice full ticket here. That's what the tickets look like in 1995. You had the date on the top with the section, the time, and everything. And then you had this at the bottom here. So we're looking at $35 for a ticket now in 1995. Again, the Eagles, same thing. Here we have an away game at the Redskins, October 29th. Away at the Seahawks. Home for the Raiders. Away at the Eagles. Home for the Bears. Nice full ticket there. Away at the Cardinals. Home for the Redskins. Away for Dallas. There's the Dallas ticket from 1995. And then the infamous snowball game, the Charger game. This game turned into a disaster. The Giants were 5-10 at the time, and it snowed the day before at night or early in the morning, and the field crew didn't have enough time to get the snow out of the stadium, and it just turned into a disaster where people were throwing snowballs at each other, throwing snowballs at the players, throwing snowballs at the coaches. It was just an epic disaster. The team was not good, and the fans took it out on the poor players and the referees and the coaches and everything else. It was just a nightmare. So 5-11 to wrap up 1995. Things not looking good for our beloved Giants. Okay, 1996 rolls around. Here's the first ticket from 96. We got Sam Huff on the ticket. These were nice. Maybe they learned from 95 that we got to spruce up the tickets a little bit. Then we have an away game against the Jets. Home game right here against the Panthers for the preseason. And then we open up the 96 season against the Bills. And we have the debut of Amani Toomer right here, 1996. Then we have an away game at Dallas. home for the Redskins. And in case you were wondering, this year the Green Bay Packers were the Super Bowl champions. This is away at the Jets. This is a home game we had against the Vikings. Frank Gifford on the ticket, very nice. This was a home game against the Eagles. We have George Martin on the ticket. This was an away game against the Redskins. Again, Sam Huff, very interesting choice of to put on the ticket there, a former Hall of Famer and Giant. Then we have at the Detroit Lions. Home for the Cardinals, November the 3rd. Andy Robustelli on the ticket. Away at the Panthers. Away at the Arizona Cardinals now. They changed their name about 500 times, but they were the Arizona Cardinals at this point. Then we have Giants Cowboys at home. Mark Bavaro dons the ticket this time. Then we are at Philadelphia right here, December the 1st, at Miami with Rodney Hampton on the ticket. Then we are home for the Saints with Rosie Brown on the ticket. Home for the Patriots with LT on the ticket. So, 96, loved the tickets, didn't love the results. 6-10, 1996. On to 1997. So now we've had a 5-11 record, we've had a 6-10 record, and that forced Dan Reeves to be shown the door. And we invited in Jim Fassel, and this was the beginning of the Fassel era in 1997. So here we have the opening game of the preseason against the Ravens. Then we have the Jaguars at home. Then we have the Jets at home, a nice full ticket. And once again, the same graphic on every single ticket with the big giant in the middle of the stadium. Not very creative. Then we were at the Packers on August the 22nd. Our opening game was August 31st, which is interesting. We don't open up in August very often. It's usually September. And this happened to be the debut of Tiki Barber. Away game at the Jacksonville Jaguars with Mark Brunell on the ticket right there. Okay, game number 2 is a home game against the Ravens. We're looking at $40 now for the tickets, so we're getting up there a little bit in price. I mean, it's... Never mind. Then we go to the Rams, the St. Louis Rams, 1997. Then we are home for the Saints. Then we are home for the Cowboys. Away for the Cardinals, Arizona. They're still Arizona. Then we are at the Detroit Lions, right here. Then we are home for the Bengals. We are at Tennessee, which is one that I'm missing. This was the first year of the Tennessee Titans. So it's a ticket that I don't have. Those are hard to get because it's their first year, and a lot of people hold on to those being that it was their first year in the league. But we will try to get that. Then we have the Cardinals, full ticket from the Cardinal game at home. So unused ticket right there. Then we are at Washington, home for the Buccaneers, and at the Eagles, 1997. 1997 saw the Super Bowl go to the Broncos for the first time. They made it a bunch of times with Dan Reeves and never won it. But in 97, they finally got it done. There's a home game against the Redskins, away game against the Cowboys. Nice full ticket there. And then we made the playoffs under Jim Fassel. And this game I really don't want to talk about because it was one of the most disappointing endings in the history of the franchise. This was a playoff game that we had won, and it just fell right through our fingers. If you want to know more about it, Google it, read it. We're not going to talk about it. It's disgusting. We should have moved on. We were the better team. We finished 10-5-1 with the loss to the Vikings, and this was George Young's final game as general manager of the Giants. Okay, we have 2 seasons left in our 90s history right here. The first one is a nice full ticket against the Bengals, preseason game number 1, 1998. 1998 saw the Broncos repeat again as Super Bowl champions, and we will see them in this season a little bit later on. August 14th against the Jaguars. August 20th against the Jets. Then our final preseason game was against the Ravens, 1998. Full ticket, unused. Then our opening game is against the Redskins, September the 6th, 1998. September the 13th at the Raiders. Again, this is a season that I have all of the tickets, preseason and regular season. This was a away game against Tampa, October the 4th. Derek Brooks on the cover. This was an away game against the Chargers. Kind of a cool looking ticket. Then we have a home game against the Cowboys. Unused full ticket against the... Oh, nope, that is used. I'm sorry. The next one is not used. This is a Dallas Cowboys home game. This is the Atlanta Falcons, October the 11th, 1998. That's unused. October the 18th, 1998, Cardinals. Full unused ticket. Redskins at Giants. I'm sorry, Giants at Redskins. At Dallas. At home for the Packers, November 15th. At home for the Eagles, unused ticket. At the 49ers. At the Cardinals, Arizona Cardinals still. And here is the game against the eventual Super Bowl champion Denver Broncos. And this game featured a late touchdown. As you can see here, we defeated the Super Bowl champion Denver Broncos. They were 13-0. They came into our stadium. This was really all that we were playing for at this moment. We knew the season was over, but if we could just knock off the Denver Broncos, that would be so cool if we could do that at home. And they scored a touchdown in the final minute. Amani Toomer from Kent Graham, right in the corner of the end zone, defeated the Broncos. They obviously went on to win the Super Bowl, but that was a big moment for Giant fans that season because we didn't have much else to cheer about. We finished it up with the Chiefs and the Eagles right here, but we finished up the season at 8-8. Another disappointing season, and we had one left, 1999. 1999, last season of the decade. The Rams are the Super Bowl champs this year. Here is our first preseason game against the Vikings, August the 13th. Our first home preseason game against the Jaguars, nice unused ticket. And another unused ticket here against the Jets, August the 28th. Baltimore Ravens close out the preseason right there, September the 3rd. Okay. Opening up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, September the 12th. Then home for the Redskins. This was the 75th anniversary of the Giants, by the way. That's why there's a 75 on the ticket. This was a game at New England. Drew Bledsoe on the cover. Of course, the pre-Brady era. Then we are home for the Eagles. Right here, October the 3rd. Then we are away at the Cardinals. Home for the Cowboys. Home for the Saints. October the 24th. And then this game is a fun one if you want to take a moment and YouTube this video. We were down 17-3. We won 23-17. Strahan had a pick six to win the game in overtime. Pretty cool. Just the fact that we were down 14 and came back to win, it was one of the biggest comebacks in Giants history. And Strahan had an interception to win the game. So pretty cool. You YouTube it, you watch the clip. It's pretty cool. It's up there. Just a fun video to relive and watch. And that was that game right there at the Eagles. Home for the Colts. Away at the Redskins. Home for the Cardinals. Home for the Jets. Away at the Buffalo Bills. And I'm missing the Rams game. It's their Super Bowl season. Again, hard to come by those Super Bowl season tickets. I'm trying to get that one. It's just kind of difficult. This is the home game against the Vikings. And this was the away game against Dallas that year in the year 2000, January 2nd, the year 2000. So we finished up 1999 with 7-9 record, and as many as you know, the next season we went on to make the Super Bowl. Didn't win the Super Bowl, so we don't really talk about it too much. But coming from a 7-9 season and going to the Super Bowl is pretty damn good. So disappointing season, but it did lead to some good things. And hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you've enjoyed watching this trip down memory lane and the Giants and talking about the history, because I just love talking about these things. So if you liked the video, hit the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate your help, and go Big Blue.